Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature podcast. I was clicking through my AOL browser, and I kept getting pop-ups for our Patreon that was just like, join Patreon, $5 a month, fun conversations, fun fights. It's fun. It's so fun. And just kept saying fun all over it.
Uh-huh.
I made sure to click that pop up so that way we got the AdSense. So
Oh,
please,
thanks. We got that like half a cent.
so if anybody you see a pop up for our Patreon, please click on it and then accept the Patreon and accept all cookies too,
Yeah,
please.
accept all cookies, yes. And do not put on ad blocker.
Yeah, if you put on ad blocker, you are not supporting our work. You're
Yeah.
you're basically saying you have no respect for us whatsoever. So
Yep.
please accept all ads from us. And it's only $5 a month, and it doesn't affect any regular content whatsoever. But today, it is the final Gamera movie of the Showa era. Nathan, we gotten this long journey, and we're here at Gamera Super Monster from 1980, directed by Noriaki Yuasa. It's his final Gamera movie. So before we get into the movie, what uh, I wanted to know, did you have any idea what this movie was?
No, kinda. So I only knew because I think I clicked through it once. Like I saw it somewhere, like, before. Like I was like, oh, okay. I was going through all the Gamera movies, just seeing what the trailers were
You're not
like.
allowed to do that. You're not allowed to
It's
do
all
that,
right. I did
Nathan.
it. I did it. And I saw some of the special effects for this one, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I've learned from hints from you that like this one would have a lot of stock footage. So that's what I know. What do you know about it? What do you know going in?
Well, yeah, I knew there was going to be at least one movie where it was almost completely stock footage, and
Mhm.
that is the case for this one. So this is right after the uh, the last Gamera movie, which was Zigra, I believe, and we were kind of like, we're like, okay, it's starting to go downhill a little bit, and then Daiei ends up going bankrupt and losing
Mhm.
all their money. So this is 1980. So this is um 9 years after the last Gamera movie. So like I said,
Man.
Daiei is not doing too hot. So they wanted to make a movie, but had no money. So what do, Nathan, when you want to make a movie but you don't have any money? Well, you just release the same movies you already got as one movie.
Wow, that's so smart. I should do that.
Yeah, I mean, why don't more people do that?
Yeah, that's just when I want to see the fourth Avengers movie, and it's just clips of the first three.
I thought that, like, wouldn't that be so funny, like if they just had like the Avenger, like they call it like Avengers, but then it's like, like Ant-Man's like, I gotta go fight, you know uh what was it, the Hornet again, and it just shows like the
The
Hornet
cell
battle.
phone scene or whatever the hell where they're talking. And
Yeah,
then
like
he comes back and just, phew, all right.
yeah. Yeah, so I thought of, like, I was like, I wonder like how anybody would actually feel about that. But yeah, this was supposed to just be like, hey, like, we haven't made Gamera in a while, and I mean, they're like, thank God, home video is not a thing where people
Hmm.
can just watch Gamera movies. So it's like, let's just release the same content we already have. So um a lot of it is the same, every single monster fight uh edited into one movie. And we did talk about this before on a movie similar to this, which was All Monsters Attack, which was a Godzilla movie where they used probably like 50% of the movie is stock footage,
Hmm.
and there was some new content filmed for it, but um, and that was actually Toho's answer to Daiei's Gamera movies, because Gamera, was like, oh well, Gamera we can just use movies that we already made, and so that was like their answer to that, and Gamera was like, okay, well now we're gonna do that, but the whole movie is gonna be stock footage,
Yeah.
Which there is some new stuff in there,
Oh,
but
I mean, there's a surprising amount of new stuff, just not a lot of new Gamera stuff.
there is some new
Some.
Gamera, very, very, very little, but
Mhm.
um, the movie opens with a star destroyer from uh like I think it was probably like an extra prop from this like real crappy movie called Star Wars.
Hmm.
It's I think they found it like in a trash can or something. They're like, let's just use this. And
I mean, knowing the rep of that movie, which is that nobody knows it, I'm sure everything just got dumped in the trash on that one.
yeah, so they're just like, okay, we got this little model from this movie and we're going to use that. But they make sure to show you this model multiple times. They really
Hmm.
want you to know that, look how impressive this is. But knowing them, it wouldn't surprise me if that was like something they had from like another movie.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't be
and
surprised if that was stock footage.
it could be, it very well could be. But this one, one thing you have to know too is that one thing they did for this movie is they used a lot of product placement in this movie too. I don't know if you noticed that, because and the end credits of this movie, they actually thanked Mazda.
Really, I
And
did not notice that.
yeah, there's a big Mazda logo at the end of the movie, and like all the cars that they drive, at least in the new parts, are all Mazda vehicles.
Wow.
And like the one of the girls works at a Mazda dealership.
Yeah, that is true.
So
That
uh
did feel weird. Now that I think about it, why was she working like out of like because this movie's about superhero women, but she works at a car dealership and she's like selling to people in that scene
well,
when
oh,
you see it.
like she's undercover,
Well, of
obviously.
course she's undercover, but
I mean, if I was a super alien woman, I would most definitely be working at the Mazda dealership.
yeah, I'd be like, what's the most human job possible? There
What
we
is
go.
Google most human job? Mazda dealership.
All right, I'm in on it.
uh, but yeah, like the movie starts with like these aliens out in outer space,
Hmm.
and we get to see that there's like these super women, and they're right away they're just like, oh, like a disturbance in the force, and
Hmm.
they we get to see right away just how great the special effects in this movie are, because one of them drives off in the Mazda van, and then it turns into like this big orange blob and flies into the sky, and
Hmm.
then another girl just like full on goes Superman and just like flies up
Uh,
to the orange blob.
God, and it's so weird looking too. It's a special effects shot because the movie all of a sudden gains this VHS quality grain, and it's like super. It's like it goes from like because the actual like shot stuff, the talking scenes looks fine, but the special effects scene, the quality just dips so hard, and like the flying scenes, oh my God, where like it's hard to explain. Can you explain how this looks bad? But it just looks bad.
It looks like they just like they layered it like on top of a VHS tape or something like
Yeah,
that. Like they recorded it like on top of a VHS tape. Like it looks like a videotape quality.
yeah, which would have
And
been fine then, but now it just looks weird.
well, yeah, so it's like, it's just that's just how they did things in the 80s. Okay, like
Okay, yeah.
that's how far technology has come
Hmm.
in those 9 years. Um, but so yeah, there's this little boy named Kaiichi who he loves shonen comics, and they go for like a really long time of them like reading comic books. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I love like, and I recognize those comics because I don't know if you know, but I like anime, maybe.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you. I'm kidding. It was a joke.
But no, it's the one of the ones I watched, which was they said Muscle Man, but it's
Yeah,
called Kaniku Man,
yeah.
and I've watched that anime, and
I recognized that like instantly. Like they said Muscle Man, and then they
yeah,
showed the picture. I was like, oh yeah, okay. It was interesting.
and they go in like this big thing where it's like, oh, like this police officer in this manga owns a fish, and then they go to see a real police officer who's like who also has like a fish.
Well, isn't it a turtle?
Well, it's a turtle in the comic, but yeah, and at the police station, like, no, I have a fish. See,
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and it's like I know you guys read your comics, but they are not real. And then let me tell you, this gang of kids. Well, at least there's a gang of kids, but the other two aren't really in it. It's mainly just one main kid, but he does get his chance to shout like, "Go Gamera, use your flame breath" later in the movie. So, and
yeah.
it has all the the usual stuff.
Well, okay, so obviously, this it does play into what they've done the same formula before, where it's a little boy is the main star of this movie,
Hmm.
and no, sorry, no Tom, no Jim, no Helen. That's all no American kid in this one. I'm sorry, but he's really obsessed with Gamera, and but like I think Gamera is not really a thing though. It's like he's aware of what Gamera is,
Hmm.
but the Gamera events of everything else like have never taken place, right? Or
No,
they
because they take place now.
well, I mean, is that the case, or is that like, or oh wait, maybe this is like a prequel, and like this is like
Hold on.
this is how these monsters appeared and
No,
the seer.
this is an interquel, is what they like to call it. It's everything that happened in
Oh yeah,
between and during the other movies.
so maybe that's like how this movie like that's how Gauss like came here, and so like technically it'd be like this movie starts it, then like the monster shows up, so technically like that movie would go there, and then you just add in the little hey, maybe this movie's onto something.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm starting to like it better
Do
now.
you, do you want to edit the make the Gamera cut where it's like we edit all the movies together, but this one gets the privilege of being in between all of the scenes? That'd be fun. A little fan edit for all the Gamera heads out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just take this episode and edit in to all the other episodes for us, please.
Great. So that means in the middle of like some of the good ones, we have to see these space women talk and stuff just in the
Yeah,
middle of it all. Um, but yeah, so I guess it's funny these space women. That everything they do is based on like synth music. Like their car has like a little like synth, or no, it's an organ. Sorry, it's an organ that they use. Which of course our little boy main character knows how to play organ, which I think is so funny because like that opening scene where he's like doing organ lessons and like usually it would be piano lessons, but no, he's playing like the organ. It's like the cheesiest music.
well, and apparently this kid wrote the Gamera theme song,
See that
so
it's how
it,
it all comes together.
it's all coming together. Like the kid got really famous from his Gamera theme song.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, he sings it multiple times. He even shows up to like the alien women's store and it's like, "You want to hear my Gamera song?"
Yeah,
And
but yeah, no,
mhm.
uh, he really loves Gamera though. Like, but it's never explained how Gamera is presented in this timeline. Because he's like, oh, I love Gamera, and then he like goes to the pet store, and the one of the alien women works at the pet store, and was like, oh, you want a turtle? Here, I'll just give you one. And she hands him a turtle, and he's like,
Mhm.
no, I want that turtle. He and I talk to each other. She's like, oh, okay. And
Yeah, and then they call him a mental institution.
yeah, and that's where the movie ends. But
Mhm.
that's how he's able to envision all this.
Yeah.
Um, but no, he has a little turtle, but his mom's like, I don't want you having a turtle in here. And eventually he sets the turtle free into the water. And he's like, oh, that turtle's Gamera now. And just because like all of a sudden the giant turtle shows up and he's like, it's Gamera, it's my turtle.
Yeah. Yeah, because his mom is like, nope, we can't keep a turtle, put it out there. It's funny. He goes back to the alien lady. It's like, oh, I gave the turtle out into the wild, and she's just like, okay, cool, yeah, that was the right choice. You should have done that. Says the pet store owner.
You gave away the pet that I gave you?
Yeah, for free. What the hell? Well, then
Uh,
she can go back out, get it, and then give it away again. It's infinite turtle gifts.
yeah. Uh, but there's 3 alien space women, which, I mean, there's not really discernible traits between them at all.
Not really. I mean, you can kind of tell the main one with short hair. She kind of has a personality. But I was reading a little bit about this movie, and I guess she was a wrestler.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why she has a presence.
Yeah. So she's like the most athletic out of them. But
Mm-hmm.
there's the 3 alien space women, but there's also an evil alien space woman.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So it's working for the aliens, and it's like the main henchman, and she's like, we're gonna destroy the Earth, masters. And they're like, and the aliens like, okay, we're gonna send Gauss down there, and just like all of a sudden it's like Gauss.
Yeah, it's just there. Yeah. And Gamera beats them every time. And like the whole thing is that she's masquerading as a good alien space lady to the little boy. But every time she can't handle herself, because every time Gamera wins, she's pissed about it. She's like, "Oh man, Gamera, the Gyao's gonna destroy Earth." She
and,
could.
and then like Keiichi like picks up on it. He's like, I'm starting to think you're not such a good alien woman. And
Why
then
do
she's
you
like,
not look like why do you not look happy when the Earth is saved?
yeah, why do you look happy when Gamera wins? And she's just like, like she's like totally dumbfounded, like
that he can tell.
yeah, like that this kid like can tell that she's evil. And
Mhm.
uh that's pretty much like the bulk of this movie, though. I mean, like the main bits are like, they in between you'll see like Kaiichi like interacting with these alien space women, and it'll be something silly like, hey, like, where do you guys live? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, we live in our van. It's like, well, how do you all fit in one van? Like, where do you sleep? Like, oh, do you want to see? He's like, yeah. And just like she just like shrinks herself, and she just walks into like a little like glass cat carrier looking thing, and just like, here's where I live, here's where I sleep. Oh, so cool.
Yeah,
And
it's so funny because it looks worse than that special effect did in Mothra, which was like a 20-year-old movie at this point.
right, it does not look good at all.
Mm-mm.
But just little stuff like that, or it'll show like the evil alien space woman like trying to like infiltrate their group.
Mm-hmm.
It's very silly.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is very silly. And like, it's not good, but I won't say that I was like bored or anything. But like when I was bored was the stock footage fights. Was that, oh my God, I have to rewatch these
you,
again.
you mean you get to watch them again, Nathan?
Is that what it is? I don't know. I guess like maybe the other ones has a little more fresh on, but I think it
Uh,
was the last one that we watched when
uh,
Zegra popped up. I was like, oh God.
okay, well, imagine this. Imagine you're sitting in the theater, and it's been 9 years since you've seen a Gamera movie.
Yeah.
It's like,
I,
oh, well, so fresh.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Do you think like they were happy? Like they were okay with it? Like, or
Well,
did they even notice?
I mean, this wasn't like a new practice, I don't think. Because I mean,
No.
I know they did that for Godzilla movies, is that they would basically take all the fights from other Godzilla movies, and then kind of edit them together, and just for like the Champions Festival, where it's like, okay, we're just here to watch monster fights, like, screw the rest of the movie type of
Mhm.
thing. um I don't know, like, I part of me, I'd probably be like, if I hadn't watched these movies so recently, like if it was like 10 years and I had no way of seeing any of these scenes, like I would probably like it, I guess. Like if you
Yeah,
don't,
I
you
guess
don't think so?
no, no. I mean, I guess you're right. I wouldn't mind it because like I wouldn't have seen any of these. And like, let's say I'm just rewatching some fight scenes. I guess it would be like going on YouTube and watching a clip of a fight scene, you know, like, oh, I get to go to the theater and rewatch like Gamera's greatest hits. But
Well,
they do the damn scene again, right?
yeah, they do.
Okay, that one's overplayed.
Well, like because they're like we were able to turn Gamera evil, so they just show like the scene from Gamera versus Barugon where
Uh-huh.
he's evil in the beginning of the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
and uh and apparently Barugon was like the biggest baddest villain because they saved the Barugon battle for the very
Yeah,
last.
and they're like, and now we will send out Barugon. Like it's like the biggest deal. Like, yeah, this
Yeah,
is the big fight.
yeah,
Which
like
is
this
so
is
funny, which I wouldn't even consider that one of like his best monsters.
no. I mean, it's so silly, but
Hmm.
the but I try to think like, okay, if those were not pre-established movies, like if this was just in its own contained universe, because I asked this question for All Monsters Attack, like pretend like those other movies didn't exist and this is your only Gamera movie you saw. Would this be a good movie?
I still would say no. Personally, I would still say no. I do think the space women alien stuff is it's pretty bad. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. I'm watching it, I'm laughing, and I think I had a good enough time. I had a better time with this one than I expected. Is it a good movie though? No, especially with some of those special effects. You could tell how cheap this movie is.
No, yeah. And we didn't even mention, and I agree. I don't think I would like it as much because what I do like about the Gauss movie or Jiger and the original one, it's like, like they were building up to those fights,
Mhm.
and you kind of got like a taste of the monster. You got to see how imposing they were. So it was kind of like, like it's like, okay, this is like the big payoff. So this is like your reward, pretty much.
Mhm.
Um, and this one, it's like, yeah, this just kind of just feels like, just like, oh, Gamera's just killing a bunch of monsters, and there's nothing feels special about it, really. I mean, so um, but I like you said though, like I don't think like the human plot line is that great, but one thing we gotta mention is that there's two dream sequences in this movie
Mhm.
where Gamera gets inserted into an anime.
Yeah, what is this with like the anime scenes that are so like out of place in this movie?
I don't know, but I'm assuming it was just like they had pre-existing footage and they're like, how can we use this? And they turned that in, but it's nothing it's nothing new though. It's just they get Gamera onto like a green screen
Which
and it
looks bad.
looks really bad, and it just shows him being in this anime, like following like a train that's like floating in outer space. Because I think that's from, isn't that Galaxy 999 Express?
Yeah,
Or
yep. I looked it up and yeah, that's what it's from.
yeah, which is a pretty well known anime even now. I would say like it's always like I always see it like on animes you should see or whatever. But
Hmm.
I don't. There's no plot relevance whatsoever. It doesn't get brought up. It's just like, oh, Keiichi just had like like a little odd dream.
Yeah, it's a time filler. That's all it is. It's just to get a little more time into this movie.
Yeah,
And to say we did some original Gamera footage and some original Gamera footage. I cheered on this one is whenever we see Gamera walk by and he knocks down a Godzilla sign and it falls to the ground and it plays like this little boom 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 like cartoon music.
yeah.
Like,
That
okay, I'm sorry, but Gamera, I love you, but you have no right at this point to shit on Godzilla. like,
well,
we're better, guys. Knock him out.
they're like, we're still making movies. Godzilla's taking a break right
He sucks.
now. Yeah, but this one, the only new ones are like where it's a very, very stiff Gamera model, and it's like
Hmm.
his head and mouth move, and that's about
Hmm.
it.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
really
don't even,
disappointing.
I don't think he ever stands up or like really.
No, there's not
And
even really like a full body shot, is there?
no, and it's just him floating in outer space, or it's like him and the flying. So it's like him doing it like in his fly mode, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even see him really fly, even.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gamera beats up every single monster that we've seen already, and that's one thing too. Is just like they kind of it got real old watching that. Just like
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've seen all this stuff pretty recently, and
Mm-hmm.
it really wasn't like, oh well, that was fun watching that again, because that's like I already knew what was going to happen. And when we get to the very end of the movie, you know, the aliens are still out in outer space, and they're like, we're going to just keep coming and keep coming after you. And then, so how they end the movie is so out there,
Mm-hmm.
where Gamera flies into outer space and sacrifices himself
Yeah.
by running into the big spaceship, and it ends with a big explosion, and Gamera dies.
It just ends, right? It just which is so weird because that's not the only sacrifice in this movie, by the way. There's multiple, but yeah, it's over. No more Gamera.
No more. He's dead. They killed him in the final movie, uh, and then Kaichi just like he's so upset at
Mhm.
first. And it's like, oh my Gamera, he's dead. He's dead. And then the alien space someone's like, you want to come with us? Okay. And then
Yeah, they
they
fly
they
together.
they kidnapped him.
Yeah, exactly. And they kidnap him and they all fly together at the end of the movie. And this is after seeing, because the bad alien lady, she turns good, which one of the most, this is a children's movie and there's like a really startling scene where she has a gun and she puts it to her head and everybody has to like wrangle the gun out of her hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sacrifices herself too. And he's seen all this death, but I guess getting kidnapped and flying is fine. It makes it all better.
Yeah. Um, so that's where the movie ends. But that's not the only thing I wanted to bring up. So, as you know, I listened to every commentary
Oh
on
boy.
here,
Yeah.
and this one was no exception. Um, so I looked at the name of who's doing the commentary, and it was Richard Pusateri. Does that name recognize any bells for you, Nathan? Because I've
No.
said that name on the podcast before.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't recognize it.
uh, it is the same guy that did the commentary for Godzilla All Monsters Attack, which
Really? They
is
got the same guy?
which I said on the pod, because I went back and re-listened to that episode before we recorded this to see what I said.
Uh-huh.
I said it was the worst commentary I've ever heard.
And is it still that way? Because I know you listened to a really bad one again.
Oh my god, this one is unbearable.
Wow. Really?
So this guy, he is a author of kaiju books. So I mean, he does know what he's talking about, but he's not even a Gamera fan for one.
Really?
And I said before, he did like a mystery science theater shtick.
Uh-huh.
This is no different at all. And
That sucks.
his jokes are so bad. Like, so Kaiichi, you know, he's got a Japanese name. He's like, or he said his name's Kaiichi, but I'm gonna call him Kenny. And
Okay.
and and instead of him actually giving facts and knowledge about this movie, I mean, the only facts he gives are, well, according to IMDb, this actor was in
Oh
this
my
movie.
God.
Or it'll be like, IMDb doesn't list any other credits for this actor after this movie. I'm like, I
That
just
that sucks because I think this movie, like a movie like this that's so low budget and seems like a cash in, would have a fun little history or something about it, but of course they get somebody who just wants to joke around.
yeah. And like, there's a scene where uh the scene where he's like actually talking to like the little turtle in the fish tank or whatever in the fish bowl,
Hmm.
and he like does like a radio voice. It's like, Kenny, please stay away from turtles. Turtles carry salmonella. You shouldn't touch them. And it's just he does this joke like 5 times, and I'm just like, oh my god, shut up! Like,
Oh my
just
god, they let this happen? Arrow just lets any fool do this stuff. Well, I guess Criterion did too.
well, Criterion didn't do that one. That was a different DVD. So
Oh,
that
it
was like
was okay.
that was a different
That's
U.S.
right,
guys.
because the Godzilla Criterions have almost nothing on them.
Right, there's like no special features except for the first one, but
Mhm.
yeah, that one it was like the same deal. Like he gives almost like surface level trivia. Same deal I've heard before. Like, oh, this was directed by Yuasa. Yuasa loved these movies. He loved catering to children. He loved his fans. It's like
Yeah,
it's stuff I've heard 1,000 times. And then he narrates like what I'm seeing on screen
love
too.
commentaries like that.
And I'm like, what is the point of you even being here? Because I'm not laughing and you're not giving me any insight into this movie. Because, like you said, this was like the one I was actually excited for the
Yeah, I
commentary
was gonna
where
say it could be fun.
because it's like there's so much you interview people like producers, like why does this make the most business sense? Like how much, like what was the impact? Like did this movie make
Mhm.
any money? Like what was the American release for? Like just basic knowledge I wanted for this movie, and
Yeah.
I didn't get that. And he does like really stupid jokes too, like since Kaiichi had like the alien woman that he was hanging out with. He's like, oh, and there's Kenny with his new alien girlfriend, and his old alien girlfriend sees him and gets jealous, like implying like this kid is like dating these women.
That's so weird.
And there's a later scene in this movie which I didn't really think of like the implicate like or like it didn't really cross my mind, but there's like a scene where the evil alien woman had like passed out
Hmm.
and she's sleeping in the bed, and I guess Kaiichi was in like the same bed with her, just like
Sleeping. Yeah.
just sleeping. And
Does he make it creepy?
yeah, he makes a sex joke.
Oh
Like
god. Because
I like
I didn't even think about that.
I
It was
didn't either.
innocent.
It was he's a little kid, and it's like
Mhm.
he's very clearly sleeping, and like they walk into the room and they see him, and he's like, this is not what it looks like. Kenny doesn't want him people thinking that he slept with his alien girlfriend. I'm like, shut! I hate you, and just
Oh
and
my god.
and just gives really dumb like, oh, that looks like a guy in a rubber suit. I'm like, yeah, no shit, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, it's a Gamera movie. What do you
And
want?
it just I never I hated it. I hated it so much. I would have rather gone back and listened to that one guy for the that one commentary where the Jiger one where it's like the guy like reacting to like the whole movie.
Yeah.
I would have rather listened to that than listen to this one again, because this one is putrid. I hated it. It was just like I wanted to shut it off like midway through,
Jesus.
and because this guy is not funny at all, and I'm just like I'm like you said, like who like listened to this commentary and like, yeah, that's great, loved it, and just
I'm sure nobody did.
I would have like turned around and just like, you need to do that again, or like get the hell out of here, buddy. Like
Yeah, we'll get David Cowett.
just somebody, anybody would have been better. I mean, I would have preferred knowledge that I've already heard a million times, like just spewed like at me again,
Mm,
versus somebody thinking they're a comedian like that. It's just
yeah.
I or if they're gonna do that route, at least get like an actual comedian, or like get like
Get the Mystery Science Theater people here. I'm sure they do it.
yeah, exactly. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna be that stupid with it, at least get somebody that's actually funny
Yeah.
with it. And it's really bad. That's all I'm gonna say. Is just it's horrible.
Oh, yeah, sounds awful. Glad I didn't listen.
Yeah, be thankful you didn't. But anyway, would you give this movie a recommend, Nathan?
No, I wouldn't. No, it's just it's silly. I laughed, but I think overall it's just a pretty bad movie. The space alien effects, all of that, and it's a bunch of stock footage. It's just really not for me. Nothing I'll watch again.
Yeah, it's not worth seeking out at all. If you're going to watch any Gamera movie, watch any of the other ones, and it'll be
Yeah.
a much better time. And so I would definitely not give this one a recommend. But I don't want to end on that note. So, Nathan, we're going to do what we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
We got all the Gamera movies. We got one, two, three.
It's 8, right?
Yeah. So we usually do this for all of our series that we do, where we go in and rank. You know, since it's the end of the Showa era, I wanted to at least rank the Showa movies for Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start from bottom to top. So Nathan, we'll take turns. Nathan, which one is your bottom
Oh,
Gamera
I mean,
movie?
we can just go ahead and guess this one. I'm gonna guess yours is the same. It's Gamera Super Monster, the one we just talked about, for all the reasons I've already listed. Just stock
Yeah,
footage movie.
stock footage movie, low effort, not that fun. So yeah, Gamera Super
But
Monster is my least favorite.
but I will say the next one is gonna be Gamera versus Zigra. I had some fun with it, but I think the kid leads in this one just kind of really made this a painful experience at times.
Yeah, very few of the Gamera movies where it's like this one's not. I mean, I had a pretty good time with almost all the Gamera movies,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember this one in particular just being like that was not great. And Zigra, like you said, like very bad kid performances. Fights are not super memorable. Yeah, that one would also be my number seven.
And then this is probably where we'll deviate because I think you like this one a little more than I did. Gamera versus Virus is going to be my number 6. Um, this one,
No,
I,
we're the same.
yeah, just okay. So we're the same, which is funny, but yeah, I this one at least is more on the tipping point of being a little more fun. I like the monster. I like the ship layout. There's things I actually remember from this one. I just think maybe the monster, the main villain monster, isn't more as memorable as what's going to come after.
Uh, that and I also just remember this one being another
Stock footage one.
very heavy stock footage movie. And I remember there was so much stock footage that they had to make two different cuts of this movie where they had to cut out even more of the stock footage. And uh, it's I remember it's not bad. I didn't hate it, but
Mhm.
it's definitely not a very strong one. And but there is some really fun moments in it. I do remember the kids. You know, who could forget Jim?
Oh, of
You know,
course. Yeah.
he's there. I'm
Mhm.
saying, what's up, Jim? And, and so,
A listener.
yeah. Uh, so that would be my number six as well. It's not a strong one, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. Okay. So my next one is going to be Gamera versus Barugon, which I liked. I think this is the point where I'm starting to get to more like be like, yeah, I enjoyed this one. If I remember right, this is the one that they go look for the opal, right? And it's like radioactive, and they have the ship, and it's like killing people. I don't know. That plot line sticks with me, and I think that's a lot of fun. And I guess this is kind of our first introduction to the wacky monsters that we get in Gamera.
Well, yeah, this is the second movie in the series, so this is also my number five.
Okay.
So, um, so this one very much is I I I actually don't mind the human plot line in this one because it's like
Mhm,
they and this one too like actually had some really good special effects in
mhm,
here because after the original Gamera movie did so well, like they actually gave this movie a lot more money, and it does
mhm.
show when you watch this movie. Um, so I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't a bad one. I just wasn't. I remember thinking like I wish the monster fights were a little more fun,
Mhm.
but it was not a bad movie overall, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right.
So
So wow, we're pretty much matching up at this point.
well, let's see if we go there. So Nathan, what's your number four?
This one's a little harder, because there's two plot lines that I really like that are gonna go into the number 4 slot. But I think I'm gonna go with Gamera versus Jiger. Once again, I like this one. I really enjoyed the Wester Island and the World's Fair stuff. There's something so funny when I think back on it that it's like, oh, we got to save the World's Fair. That's the most important thing here. I don't know. It's kind of funny. And I also think Jiger's kind of a funny monster, full of like silly moments. Like I will never forget Gamera with like the thorns in his hands, and he's trying to like he can't pull them back because he's got thorns stuck in his hands.
Well, not only that, Jiger impregnates Gamera.
Yeah, when that
Mm.
sequence is crazy. No,
Um,
yeah, this one's a fun one.
that shocks me because I thought this one would have been your number 4. It's Gamera versus Giron is my number 4.
Yeah, it's tough. I think both are kind of on the same level for me.
Well, I don't mean to call you out, Nathan, but your letterbox score says a little different. You gave Jiger a 3.5, and you gave Giron a 3.
Really? Oh God. Well, then
And
I'm remembering it incorrectly.
you are, because I remember you spoke really highly. I'm not trying to start. I remember you speaking really highly of Jiger, so I was like, I thought it's at least going to be number 3 for you.
Now, maybe it's a memory lapse because I think when I think about Giron, I think about the monster, the knife monster, and all the stuff with the jumping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the human plot is not coming to my head right now.
No, so Giron's my number 4, so I'll explain.
Hmm.
Love the monster in this one. It's very creative. It
Hmm.
has really cool attacks in here, and generally it's just like Gamera's fighting in outer space, and he's
Hmm.
doing like backflips and somersaults. It's
Hmm.
really silly. But and this one, I did not really care for the human plot line that much because it's the same thing as virus.
Yeah.
So it's like them like on a spaceship, 2 kids get abducted, and it's just not a whole lot of fun. But the monster fight in this one saves it because they do a lot of really creative stuff in this one, and that I really enjoyed. So this one would be my number 4.
Okay, yeah. So I put it as my 3, and I think my reasoning in my head whenever I was just looking at it just a moment ago was because I remember the monster. That knife monster is absolutely insane with like the shurikens and like the effect of it jumping in the air and slicing like Gamera. Just some crazy visuals. So.
Yeah, it's very cool moment.
Okay. Which one's the one where Gamera spins around on the like he does like the gymnastic move and he spins
That's
around?
that's Giron.
That's Giron. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and Jiger is my number 3.
Okay, yeah.
Um, love the monster. Which was I remember being like I said, I remember being underwhelmed when I saw Jiger's monster design
Hmm.
because I was just like, oh, it's just like a triceratops. But seeing like what Jiger could actually do and like what abilities they gave her, that was made her stand out completely. And I remember how I know you like the movie plot line, like you said, like that, such insanity. Like we got the World's Fair coming up, so we're going to steal an artifact that doesn't belong to us,
Hmm.
and we're going to kill Gamera if he tries to get in the way of us stealing this artifact because that World's Fair means that much to us.
Hmm.
And at the end of the movie, it was just like, oh, we'll just build a replica. And
Yeah, yeah. It's like it meant nothing, this whole movie.
well, and not only that, and just like I said, Gamera gets impregnated by Jiger. Gamera dies at a certain point in this movie,
Hmm.
and the little kids have to get in the submarine and go in there and kill Jiger's baby. So
Uh-huh.
it's just, I mean, it's just insanity.
I
And
think I'm changing it right now. I think I'm changing my order.
and then not only that, but Gamera taking the 2 electrical poles out of the ground and
Oh, I'm putting in
shoving
his
them
ear.
his
Yeah.
ears, and like his ears were just like bleeding, like
Hmm.
nasty. Like this movie had a lot of blood. That Jiger's head gets impaled by a spike,
That's right. And it's very violent.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it crazy violent movie. I remember being like, I was not expecting this movie to like, I wasn't expecting this late in the series for this movie to be throwing out surprises like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was kind of like the breath of fresh air after some like, lesser ones, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So, but yeah, that would be mine. But you said you are changing
I am
it.
changing and we're talking about it and I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Because like I think like if I was to rewatch one, it would probably that was one I would rewatch.
I would rewatch that one in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But
Um,
so this one's gonna give it away, but I want to see if you agree. So we both have the same two left over.
mhm.
So my number two, Nathan, is the first Gamera movie.
Oh my God. No, I've been sitting here debating which one is my number one. Because the first Gamera movie is great. I really like it. But oh God, what's the last one that we have?
Gauss.
Gauss. Gauss is like that's like the quintessential, this is what Gamera is all about movie, right? This is the weird monsters, stuff like that. So yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Gamera 1 is number 2.
Yeah. I mean, Gamera, the first Gamera movie is great. I mean, like, despite it the origin of this movie pretty much being like a knockoff Godzilla movie,
Hmm.
it accomplished its goal, in my opinion. It very much is going out to be like, this is going to be like a real serious movie. And I think it does a really well job because, it does show Gamera to be like a real threatening monster. It gives
Hmm.
him abilities that sets him apart from Godzilla. So it makes him different enough. I like the way the movie's directed. It's a really good looking movie, in my opinion.
Hmm. No, I totally agree. I think it's a great looking movie. I like the black and white photography. And I think we even talk about it on there. Like it's a Gamera knockoff, but it handles it really well, and it makes Gamera a very likable character. Like as far as like his move sets, always introducing something new. Like oh he can spin, oh let's get him on his back, and it's like oh he can just get up. It's like a constant battle, and I like that about it. No, the first Gamera is a really solid movie.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, so my number one is Gamma versus Gauss.
Mhm.
I rewatching that one for the commentary was just like a treat alone for me, honestly.
Yeah.
And I mean, this movie just I love the design of Gauss, like
Hmm.
and like his abilities. And this movie is so violent. Um,
Yeah.
just I've never seen so much blood in a Gamera movie where Gamera's limbs are like hanging on by a thread.
Hmm.
Um, Gamera like rips off Gauss's foot, and then Gauss has to grow it back, and then like Gauss, remember like that rock falls on
That
Gauss's foot.
I think that scene might cinch this being the best one because we've referenced it and I will probably continue to reference that like that is the most emotion I've ever seen on a monster, like a rubber suit monster of him going, "Oh God, I stubbed my toe."
Yeah, it's
It's
like
so
so, like
funny.
just like so realistic. Like I, but uh, just the great like they treat Gauss like it's like a real vampire, like it's Dracula,
Yeah,
and
with the bowl of blood.
yeah, they have to get Gauss to drink a bowl of blood. Gauss is affected by sunlight.
Hmm.
Um, it's really silly, but I mean it when I think of a Gamera, that's I think of that movie. And Gauss is, like I said, my favorite of the villains that he's fought. So um I mean, if you're gonna watch any Gamera movie, I would say either watch this one or the original. It's either one are good enough to watch on their own. I mean, really, my top three. I mean, like I would watch Jiger too. That was such a fun one too. But
Hmm.
like I said, this one like really sets itself apart for me, and like I would put it up there as one of my favorite monster movies I've seen.
Wow, that's high praise. That's high praise. But no, yeah, no, I agree. We were both going off of each other, but no, this one was just a really fun one. I think if you want to get into like what Gamera is all about, this is just the choice.
Yeah, I mean, if like I said, if you're gonna watch one, please watch. this one because it's such a good time.
Mhm.
But that's gonna do it for the Gamera Showa era. What are we gonna do next? Who knows? We got
Mhm.
that. There's more Gamera movies out there. Are we gonna do that, or maybe do something a little different? Who knows? So that's gonna shut it on Gamera. I will say, just as my closing thoughts, as somebody that didn't grow up watching Gamera, I have a newfound appreciation for it. It's a little sillier, but as I've said on other episodes of our podcast, I really like a lot of campier movies,
Mhm.
and this one was kind of like right up my alley. They don't really waste a lot of time with the human plot lines, and it's a lot of monster fighting, and it's just completely silly. They go balls to the walls with a lot of this stuff. So I'm actually really excited to see what next in the Gamera lineup, and I'm really interested to see what where they take the series after doing a more sillier one, because I don't know anything about the next generation ones, but I do know that it takes like a much more serious side, and those are actually like really critically praised movies.
Really? Okay, you got my interest peaked.
So I am very interested to see what's going to happen in those series. So uh, I'm glad we went through this road.
Yeah, me too. No, I had fun. I probably would have never ever watched these movies if it wasn't for you. And some of them I had a really good time with, so I'm happy. And now you're saying that the next ones are critically like loved. Okay, I'm interested. So
Yeah,
we better do them soon.
perhaps we will. We'll see. But
Mhm.
for now, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining us on this Gamera journey. But going to get back into our regularly scheduled programming.
Mhm.
So, Nathan, what are we going to talk about next time?
All right. Well, next time we are going I'm going to do a recommendation. We're pulling back into the recommendation pool. We're
Oh,
doing a lot. And you know what? We're going to do one from my uncle. We're doing 84C Mopic, and that one is streaming over on Tubi. Sorry, that one was recommended forever ago, but it was so hard to find, but Tubi has it now. Of course, they dug through the depths to find it.
oh well, we thank him for that. Thank you so much.
But
Uh,
Ryan, what are you going to be covering on Thursday?
well, Nathan, I know how much you love Danny DeVito.
Yeah, yeah, who doesn't?
Well, Nathan, we're going to talk about one of his beloved movies that he directed, and
Okay.
it's called The Ratings Game,
A ratings game. Okay.
and that one is streaming for free on Tubi right now.
Oh, it's a Tubi double feature.
Terrific. Glad we have that as an option. Thank you so much, Tubi. But
Hmm.
if you have any thoughts, opinions about our podcast, please email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on X at DIDF Pod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drivein-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.